director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, Franco Terrazzano, to talk about just a wild week in Canadian politics and in Canadian finances and in taxation. But first, let's talk about one of the more fun things I saw happen in and around Ottawa this week, and that was Catherine Tait, CEO of CBC, being called to testify about CBC bonuses. And it happened at the most inopportune time for Catherine Tait, but also, I guess, for the Canadian taxpayers, because scandal had just broken earlier that morning that she had dinged the taxpayer $6,000 for her trip to Paris. And more information came out about that during the committee too. But first, let's talk about CBC bonuses. Why should Canadians care about this?
Well, because it's our money, right? This is like, first of all, these are taxpayer funded bonuses going to a failing crown corporation. And we're not just talking about a couple bucks here or there. We're talking about a lot of money, right? This year, the CBC alone rubber stamped more than $18 million in bonuses to about 1,200 managers and executives and other non-union staff at the state broadcaster. 18 million bucks. Right? Let's look at the bonuses for their 43 executives, more than $3 million to their executives in bonuses, like an average bonus, Sheila, of about 73,000 bucks. That's more than what the average Canadian worker makes in an entire year, going to a bonus for a CBC executive. But even that downplays the cost of bonuses, right? The CBC is handing out bonuses like participation awards every single year. Since 2015, the CBC's bonuses have cost taxpayers $132 million. It's a ton of money wasted.
Yeah, well, and as it came out yesterday, I think a Liberal MP didn't know the answer to his own question, which is a big mistake, a committee, and asked Catherine Tait about the doubling of people who qualify for bonuses at the CBC. Under Stephen Harper in 2014, it was somewhere around 500. And then as soon as Justin Trudeau takes power, it doubles to nearly 1,100 people at the CBC qualifying for these performance bonuses, which is absolutely outrageous because usually you have to be doing well to qualify for a performance bonus, but that's not the state of affairs down at the CBC.
Madame Tait, can you talk to us about what the CBC performance pay model was in 2014 versus what it is today in terms of its structure and how it's organized? Or is there any difference?
Just let me have a look here for my file. You say specifically in 2014. In 2014, the number of people receiving the performance pay was only 544 as opposed to 1,180. There was a decision taken before my arrival to expand the number of people receiving performance pay because we were having difficulty retaining certain pay bands within the organization. You need to understand that when I say we are paid at 50% what the industry pays, that means we have retention challenges. And therefore, the performance pay was put in place to a larger group of people in order to ensure retention.
Well, these bonuses in government isn't like a bonus in the private sector, right? Where if you do a good job, then you get a bonus. No, in government, it's like if you show up to work twice a week with your shoes tied, oh, here's a taxpayer-funded bonus. Right? And it's not just the bonuses that are going through the roof at the CBC. I looked this up, but even just the number of six-figure salary staffers has ballooned in the state broadcaster, right? So about over 1,400 CBC staffers, right? More than 1,400 CBC staffers now are collecting a six-figure taxpayer-funded salary. That's a 231% increase since 2015. But Sheila, do you mind if I just jump into another direction here? Because,
Go.
It's not just the cost. It's the complete disdain, lack of respect for taxpayers, right?
Yeah.
They have no problem taking taxpayers' money but they do have a problem telling taxpayers exactly what they're spending it on. And let me explain. We do know the total amount of bonuses going to the non-union staff. What we don't know is Tate's bonus are the bonuses for the other 7 senior executives. The CBC has continued to stonewall the release of that information. Even at committee, I'm sure we'll get into this, but Tate refused to say what her bonus is and refused to say if she will accept or refuse a bonus or severance payout when she leaves the state broadcaster in the new year.
Yeah, that did come out at committee. She won't commit to not taking a bonus, although she said, look, I didn't take a bonus this year. But as it was pointed out by Kevin Waugh at committee, Conservative MP Kevin Waugh, she could actually be banking these bonuses and her severance, take them all at once on the way out the door so that there's no ability for Canadians to hold her or the government that is awarding her these failing upwards bonuses accountable for any of it.
Oh, it's so bad, not just in terms of cost, but a lack of accountability and a lack of transparency, right? And let me just put some of these numbers into perspective here. So Tate's annual salary, the CBC won't say exactly what it is, it gives us a range, right, is somewhere between $420,000 and $497,000 a year. Tate's annual salary. So the Prime Minister's salary is $406,000. So the head of a state broadcaster is making more than the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister's already overpaid, okay? But not just that, right? They won't even tell us what the bonus is. Some analysis from Global News that I saw estimates that the maximum bonus for Tate could be like $145,000. $145,000. That could be her maximum bonus. But again, like all of this information should be public.
Right.
It is taxpayers' money. Taxpayers deserve to know what we're spending our money on.
Now, you rightly pointed out that they're handing out these performance bonuses like participation awards. And they've actually rigged the system so that happens. It came out in committee that they are lowering the KPI, the key performance indicators, so that no matter how bad the CBC fails at being a state broadcaster, they qualify for these bonuses. So they can say, like, look, we're meeting the KPIs, so we qualify for the bonuses. But when you drill down on the KPIs, they're just, I guess, you get it for showing up? Is that how it works in government? I don't know.
Well, it's like writing your own test that you have to write.
Right.
Oh, look, I passed my own test. Well, you know what? They're not passing the test of taxpayers. Now, Sheila, as we've been talking about, they've been handing out bonuses. You know, one thing they haven't done? They haven't asked Canadians if Canadians support their bonuses. So at the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, we decided to ask Canadians. We hired a reputable polling firm, Leger, to conduct a poll. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, 7 in 10 Canadians are against the CBC bonuses. 70% thereabout are against the CBC bonuses, right? You even have defenders of the CBC speaking out against the bonuses. But, you know, I know we're going to stay on the CBC, but I do want to broaden this just a bit here, because the problem with this is that the long arm of government is essentially reaching everywhere in people's pockets. And no matter where you look, they're handing out these taxpayer-funded bonuses, right? Federal departments have taken more than $1.5 billion in bonuses since 2015. They can't even meet half of their own performance targets on a consistent annual basis. The Bank of Canada completely failed to do its only job of keeping inflation low and around 2% over the last couple of years. They've handed out tens of millions of dollars in bonuses. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, another Crown corporation, right? Their number one objective, according to themselves, has been, housing affordability for all. Well, Canadians can't afford homes. They've handed out tens of millions of dollars in bonuses in recent years as well. So we need someone to not just get to the bottom of these taxpayer-funded bonuses for failure at the CBC, but we need them to cut out the rot across all of government.
Yeah, you left one off the list that I thought was quite remarkable. That's the CBSA. the CBSA, embroiled in their Rive scam scandal, their execs all qualified for performance bonuses too, which is absolutely outrageous. They shouldn't be getting bonuses. They should be getting fired. Still staying on Catherine Tate, I touched on it a little bit. She charged the taxpayer $6,000, including a $1,000 per night hotel room, to attend the Olympics in Paris, France. But she says, don't worry about it, Canadian taxpayers, because, well, for two reasons. One, we would be concerned, I think is the word she used, if the head of the CBC wasn't in Paris for the Olympics, as if any of us actually care. But secondarily, we should be grateful that she didn't charge us for her airfare, because she's double dipping. She was in Paris, or at least in France, on a personal holiday while charging us to go to the Olympics.
Did you say that you were on a personal trip to France, decided to extend your vacation, go to the Olympics, and then bill the taxpayer for it? Is that correct?
I was on a personal trip to France, and I did not bill the taxpayer for my flight or travel from Canada.
What did you bill the taxpayer for?
The hotel and the train to get to Paris.
Where does your personal trip end and your taxpayer billing begin?
When I, as part of my job, being at the opening of the Olympics was absolutely expected of me, so I interrupted my holiday and took the 4 days to go to the Olympics.
Could you understand why that sounds concerning to somebody? Just because, bit of a weird situation where you get to go on a trip, you're having your personal time, and then you just unilaterally get to decide what becomes work and what doesn't?
Well, not if I'm not charging the company for the trip.
But you did charge the taxpayer $6,000.
Correct. When I was working in Paris, I did, yes.
But could you understand why it would be concerning?
I would think that it would be concerning
that it
would be concerning if the CEO of CBC Radio-Canada did not attend the opening of the Olympics, given it was one of the most important events of our calendar year.
But when the average Canadian hears that you're charging thousands of dollars to the taxpayer, and you are just kind of deciding when your personal time ends and your billable time begins, it gets to sort of a broader concern, and to the point about bonuses that many of our colleagues have made today, of whether you have respect for the taxpayer. Can you see why that would be concerning to the average Canadian?
I do not make those decisions alone. I always check in with my chair, and I behave in a responsible fashion.